Me sitting there just wasting time, scrolling through the phone, watching these TikTok stupid videos. It's like the next thing you know, an hour's gone. And then you say to yourself, what have I just accomplished?
Nothing.
Literally nothing. You want that to happen to you?
People are looking for the quick fix.
It's procrastination
is
the word that I think kills most of us. We're wasting time. And I think that you said as you get older, you start to get maybe a little bit better at this stuff. I think it's because we realize how valuable time is. But I want to be independently wealthy. I want to be able to make my own money, be able to say to my kids, this is what we've accomplished, and to get to that level, I think you need to throw out procrastination, you need to be disciplined, and you need to be hungry.
All right, here we go. Episode 4 of the Freedom and Wealth podcast.
We made it?
Through 4.
The one thing I noticed, and hi to everybody that's out there, we still don't have anything on this wall.
I know, man. We need help. We need help, people, with
very,
something
very
for the wall. I have a story to start.
Ooh,
which I think will be exciting.
I like story time.
If anyone's joining from the live show on YouTube, we talk about meat a lot. We talk about brisket specifically a lot.
Yes.
I'm somehow going to bring this all back to discipline, which is going to be one of the first topics we talk about today. But
right.
I was very not disciplined this past weekend.
Good for you.
And I want to talk about it. I had hands down, I've been to Texas. I've been to Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, so the home.
I had, I'm going to be controversial here. I had hands down the best brisket sandwich
Not in Canada. That's impossible.
In my life, Sean.
Brisket sandwich. But you know what? It might have been high quality bread too, no? Or was
yeah, it was like
a bread guy. You're not a bread guy.
No, dude, I smashed
That's
this
what I'm
spot.
saying. So it's because you haven't had bread in a minute, maybe.
Maybe. That kind of pushed it over the top. But it was like a, what are those called? Like, not a milk bread, but anyways.
Yeah. Oh, brioche.
Brioche, yeah, like super soft.
Oh, man, brioche is next level. Dude.
A little bit spicy barbecue sauce. Oh my God, it was so good.
Don't forget about it.
I was up north for the weekend and I just went completely off the rails.
Yeah, but you just smashed one sandwich
on the food.
Right?
Yeah, but it was probably like 2,000 calories of brisket on a bun.
Calories.
It was good. Anyways,
that's part of discipline. You got to extend sometimes. You got to go outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly. I said it would. Let's bring this back to discipline. One of the most important aspects, I think, of what we're trying to do here and the message that we're trying to relay for everyone is it's not just in the way you approach business, trading, investing, whatever you want to, put your title here for what you're doing in life, but it's a lifestyle in general. It's everything you do from start to finish. When you get up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, it's discipline about how you live your life on a daily basis. There's so many different ways we can go here, but
I mean, if you just think about all the stuff that's available to us now, the apps, like you said, you can set it, get up and get a drink of water.
Exactly.
How many calories have I walked in the last, or walked off in the last 10 minutes? Things like that. It's very easy to track.
I wanted to start with a story about how I was being very undisciplined.
Yeah.
So we could bring it back to.
And then did you run like 5 miles after that? Or?
I did actually.
Jeez.
I did. No, I did a 7K trail run on Saturday, and then I did an 8K road run.
Right.
On Sunday.
It's nice to have all that time.
So my legs are broken right now, but that's fine. No, but this, as I was saying, this comes back to a way of life and being able to get up in the morning and say, here's what I'm doing today. Here's what I need to get done today. And just working your way through all of that in an effort to get to where you want to be and where you want to go in a better place.
But the thing is, you like running. You do.
I enjoy torturing myself. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. It's easy to be disciplined in things that you like to do and be passionate about it. And that's not always the right thing. It's maybe when you first started running, you're like, oh man, what am I even doing? But then now that you're doing it more and more often, you're like, oh, wow, this is something that I can attach myself to. I'm improving my lifestyle, improving my fitness, and it's giving me something to do. Like I was just joking about, wow, you have a lot of time, but you put the time aside to do that. You wake up early to do these things. And I think that if you don't have that drive, dedication is the end result, in my opinion. You need to have that passion to change something. You decided to do this step, get healthier as you age, and you're aging like fine wine. And that's, so that's the thing. It's you have to do something that you like to do. And then once you figure out, okay, this is the path I want to take, then at that point is when I feel like dedication kicks in, because it's so easy to get steered off the path with short-term vision.
Yeah.
Like that brisket story. Like, damn, that brisket was so good.
Yeah.
I want to have it tomorrow. But then you sort of start to veer off your path, because the next thing you know, you're having a brisket a day and counteracting.
That's a problem.
Well, yeah, if you have it for maybe more than 7 straight days.
No, it's a good point, in the sense that the more time you spend, and this is just coming from my personal experience, the more time you spend on the right track, and the more time you spend in that window of being disciplined and doing the right thing day after day after day. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to tell that story, was because it was very easy for me then to wake up the next day and say,
put in the work.
I had my fun. I had my fall off the rails day. Right back at it.
I can't believe eating brisket is falling off the rails. That's hilarious.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, everyone has different levels of
vices,
whatever. But for me, it was just, I had spent 6 months this year, basically in a straight line, doing everything day after day after day after day. That was incredibly disciplined and incredibly scheduled and incredibly on point. That I got to that point where we were away for the weekend, enjoying life and having a good time. And I said, I need a day. And I think it's important for people to understand their boundaries when it comes to that, and then be able to pull it back in after.
I mean, I think I have similar stories to that as well, but I think the idea behind what you're saying is to be able to pull yourself back in. Right. And I think that's the number one thing. And when we talk about trading and we talk about trying to accumulate something and do something properly, it is about that. It's about, okay, we're all going to slip up. I mean, there's all humans. You're going to have that sort of need to do something different, to potentially test the waters that you've maybe not tested before. And for you, that was to have that sandwich and really indulge and enjoy it, right? But then to have the ability to get back on that. But I think it's because you also enjoy, and that's why I asked you, you enjoy that run, that challenge, that trail, the fresh air, whatever you're doing. You look forward to doing that, right? There's so many of us that are caught in a 9-to-5 job. We don't enjoy going to work. So then we have to find what's that other thing that we can sort of attach to and strive for, and then be disciplined to get to that end result. Whether or not it's building up a 401k plan, whether or not it's getting physically fit, whether or not it's changing your diet due to whatever reason. Maybe you just had your little yearly checkup and you have to change the cholesterol, something. But as long as you have that drive and that sort of end goal, I think we can accomplish anything. My daughter right now is on a track to do 10,000 shots hockey in the backyard over, I think it's a month, not until the end of the summer. So I think it's August 31st or something like that. So she needs to get whatever it is, 1,000 shots a week until that point to get to that level. So every single night she's out there, irregardless. We came home from a tournament where she played 3 games. My wife is like, hey, you got to go out there and do your shots. Right? And she's like, oh, I'm too tired. But at the end of the day, she wants to do it. She wants to be that next thing. So she's going out there and doing that. 9 years old, but she likes to do it.
Exactly.
We're not forcing her. We're forcing her in the way of directing her into that path because she's 9. But us, we can make decisions here to say, I want to continue doing this. Why? Because there's long-term benefits. And when you're looking at businesses, that's the ultimate thing. You don't necessarily need to look what's happening tomorrow or the next day. Sometimes you need to keep focused on the longer-term goal. And I think with trading, with investing, with growing yourself up into a new level, it involves taking time, right? Time in the market is more important than timing the market. You've heard of that before?
Of course.
And I think that that's something true for discipline as well.
Yeah, it's a great analogy and a great example of, if you're going out in the backyard, and I mean, that's amazing for your daughter, 250, 300, 400, whatever per day.
Right.
You can apply that then to, if you're a trader, 200 reps a day of, taking or entering an order, taking a fill. If you are, we used in prior examples, somebody who's washing windows.
Yeah,
even.
I was going to say sales. The more people you talk to.
Sales, exactly. Sending those emails.
Right.
200
Right.
emails a day may not produce anything for you today,
Mm-hmm.
but you know that if you are disciplined and continue with that exercise day after day after day, over time, math tells you that you should get X result. And if you're really disciplined in understanding what those results are and tracking those
Mm-hmm.
results, it gives you something even more motivation to continue with that. And that's one of the things with bringing it back to the health side of things. That's one of the things that I've really found with health is, yes, getting up in the morning and going and doing the hard thing is a challenge.
Right.
But if you're able to then get to a point where you start to see results,
right. It makes a big
the
difference.
motivation in
Right.
that is just off the chart. And I'm sure your daughter's seeing the same thing with improvement in her skill.
Well, because you want to get somewhere. She wants to play at a higher level.
Right.
It's like you're not just going to drop 50 pounds by just saying, I want to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah.
You're not going to make that next rep team or whatever it is, what she's trying to get, if you don't keep on going with something, right? And I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about is staying focused, staying driven, being disciplined and all that. And I know there's going to be another point that we're going to get to very, very soon. But a lot of the times, there's always something else to do. And I think that you have to, instead of sitting there and saying, okay, I'm going to just watch a couple videos on YouTube now, and the next thing you know, you fall asleep and you forget about what you were doing. Mm-hmm. It's procrastination is the word that I think kills most of us, is the fact that you're going to sit there and you're going to say, oh, I'll get to this. Or I have an hour, I'm just going to do this. But then you don't get to it and you leave it. You put it on that burner, and then you know what it does? It takes up mental capacity.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with procrastinating and not doing it. When you're on the treadmill, when you're out there shooting those shots, when you're out pounding the pavement, always be closing. We talked about that on a past podcast, It's when you're out there trying to put in the work, you're putting in work. You're actually doing it. So you don't have to think back and say, what if I did this? You're actually doing that. So it's not at the top of your mind. Every year I procrastinate about doing taxes. No, seriously. And it's like, all right, I still have a month to do it.
Yeah.
I know I have to do it. I'm like, a month? That's no problem. I'm just going to put my paperwork together. I'm going to get this to the accountant. We'll file it, no problem. Oh, I can't format a spreadsheet all of a sudden. And that's another day gone. Oh, my credit card thing's not downloading from my bank statement properly.
There goes another day.
There goes another day. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, God, now I only have 4 days left. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I'm losing, honest to God, this is what happens, losing sleep, right? Losing mental capacity on it's starting to affect my day-to-day work. And it's just filing taxes, And it's if you don't start, then you're not going to get going. And the fun part about starting is I actually like doing all that stuff. I like digging through my work, looking for answers to questions. Sure. How much did I spend at Starbucks? What am I expensing there? What charting software did I use? What is this for accounting, for the taxes? I like doing it, but I have to start doing it. You have to start. And if you don't start, then you can't finish.
What do you think the root of that is?
So I think I have too many things going through my mind all the time. So it's like even when I'm trying to set up practices for the kids when I coach the baseball, it's like I'm always thinking, okay, what are we going to do? What's the first drill? What's the second drill? Okay, that's now 20 minutes. That's 30 minutes. So I'm always trying to think about planning something. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I think about, oh, that'll be easy. I'll be able to figure that out. And then when you get in the spot, you're like, oh, man, I didn't plan enough drills for these kids.
Sure.
Right? So then in my mind, I'm always thinking to myself, I want to be as prepared as possible. But then I'm thinking about, okay, well, then I have that to do. Oh, no, now I also have to do this. And it's piling stuff on. And I think it's not putting it in the right compartments, which affects me. Yeah. Like when I'm at work and I'm trading, I'm also thinking about other things. So then I start to pile on work on top, instead of just saying, okay, I need to buy these movie tickets for tonight, just get it done. Instead I'm like, oh, as the day goes on, it's like, I still got to do that. I still got to do that. And then something else happens, and then blah, blah, blah. And you go on. And then the next thing you know, you have too many things piled up. Yeah. And for me, that leads me to just pushing the things that are less important down, but then they're still up there. I
think it snowballs too.
Right, exactly. I think that's a good.
Yeah, in a certain extent, and people can maybe apply this to their everyday life. In that, if you use the example of movie tickets, maybe it starts with movie tickets. Then maybe it's, that work assignment that, you have to get done by Friday. Oh, it's Friday.
Right.
I still have time.
And then Thursday night happens, you get an email that says, where's that assignment?
Exactly.
You forgot about it. Yeah.
And then you're up until 3 a.m. But it snowballs. And
just technology can solve all of this.
Yeah.
And that's why we're trying to use Google Calendar.
Yeah.
Put everything in there, set alarms, set alerts. It's really easy to do. It just takes time to do it. And I think that's the big thing for me, is just making sure. And I'm lucky enough that my wife is fantastic at this. We keep a family calendar. It has all the kids' stuff in there, and I open it up and can instantly see absolutely everything in there. And I think that's helped so much in organization, because then you can see which hours of the day, maybe less than an hour, that you have time to do something for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's something that's also very, very important. If you don't take time for yourself, Brendan, you know
sure.
what that's like.
That's also a discipline thing, though.
Yeah.
Are you a calendar guy per se in general?
No, but I mean that's why the wife is.
I was never
right.
a calendar guy until I got to a point where I would get to the end of the day and say, "Oh, crap!
Right, I forgot something.
I forgot 3 things that I needed to do today because I was doing so many other things." But and this goes back to the discipline aspect of, if you take the time at the beginning of each day and say, here's overall what I need to do today. Yes, things are going to change and things are going to add as you go through your day, but at least you have a blueprint
right.
to start the day. Right. And I even have gotten to a point now where I've put what I feel at the beginning of the day is going to be the most important things. Mm-hmm. Like there's that whole analogy. I'm not a huge fan of it. There's that whole analogy going around right now that seems to be kind of popular of, do that one thing.
Right.
If you can accomplish one thing every single day,
right.
that's the most important thing. Like, you will dramatically improve your life,
right.
or at least your efficiency.
Like make that 1% change a day or something.
If you do that one thing. If I only do this today,
right.
tomorrow will be better.
Right.
So I've started to try at least to prioritize my to-do list, for lack of a better word, in that order of, if I get this done, that's great. If I get these 3 things done, okay, cool.
But that's more work than you have to prioritize everything.
But that's the thing, and again, it comes back to the discipline aspect of saying, okay, from whatever 9 o'clock to 9:30 every single morning, I'm prioritizing my day.
Right.
And then from 9:30 on, it's a matter of going through that list. If we touch on, I mentioned before, the procrastination aspect of this is super interesting, I think, from the standpoint of so many people, even from kids, like when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You get in that habit of, I'm not going to clean my room today. I'm not going to do my laundry today. I'm not going to put away my sneakers today because, a laundry list of reasons why I don't want to do that right now.
Yeah.
And as you get older, I find anyways, I mean, you tell me, but I find that list of excuses starts to drop away, and you start to get to a point where you realize your life is so much better if the room is not a mess, if the shoes are not all over the place, if the kitchen's clean, things like that.
Personality thing too, right? So.
I think so. But I mean, from a standpoint of business, from a standpoint of investment, we've been saying right from the start of this, just get started. Go to the bank, open the investment account, and start allotting, even $50, $100 a month into that. And it's just a matter of saying, on this day, for this amount of time, this is what I'm going to do.
It's most people, generally speaking, are going to push things, kick the can down the road, and I just think that what I meant when you were saying about prioritizing things, I don't necessarily believe in do one good thing or your best thing. I think there's multiple things, right? Sure. But I do think completion of things is important. Yeah. So to what you're saying there about cleaning your room, well, if you just put the shoes and you wipe them under the bed, but then you still got your shirt that's on the Peloton or whatever. It's just sitting. And Pelotons are like glorified hangers at this point, right? So, but anyways, once you have all that, then just clean everything, and then you'll be proud of the end result.
Right.
That's what we try to teach people here, even as traders, or even as when I'm opening my own business, everything, when I had my own trading floor, all this kind of stuff. It's like every day you got to do something to accomplish an end goal, right? Like if I want to have a trading floor of 30 computers, well, then I got to go. And the first thing is you got to figure out financing. Can you get those 30 computers? Then you got to actually get them in there. Then you got to hook them up. It seems like a very daunting, and then you got to upload the software and you got to make sure the right power is all there and everything like that, right? But then it goes back to the hard skills versus soft skills type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because you can always hire people to get in there to do that job for you. You know, you can get in there an electrician to make sure that you have the right power. Why? So that when you turn them all on, you don't flip the breaker and you just spent 5 or 6 hours doing that, right? But a lot of that comes with experience. You might screw something up the first time, but then the second time you'll realize, oh yeah, last time we had a power problem. Before I do it again, I'm going to make sure that we have that electrician in there to approve the setup, so on and so forth. Or I'm going to make sure I buy the right equipment. I'm going to put the work in now to make sure that at the end of the day, what I've accomplished is what I want to accomplish. So many people out there, they just say, oh, I want to have this end result, but then they don't set up like little steps to get there. And then it just seems so daunting at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where the taxes thing comes in. And I think that's even with just such disciplines as, and we talked about investing, you know, setting alarms so that every single month, or setting up that direct deposit so that it just happens.
Yeah.
It's a small little thing, but if you don't do it and you miss,
it's not gonna,
you know, then the next thing you know, oh, I have to double my payment next month because I missed the month before. Well, maybe I'm a little short on funds, so then I can't do it. And the next thing you know, it all snowballs and snowballs and snowballs, right?
Yeah.
So it's like making those first little things and not procrastinating and just getting going, because we're wasting time. And I think that you said as you get older, you start to get maybe a little bit better at this stuff. I think it's because we realize how valuable time is.
Exactly.
You know, it's so valuable for the way we spend our lives. Like me sitting there just wasting time, scrolling through the phone, watching these TikTok stupid videos. You know, it's like the next thing you know, an hour's gone. And then you say to yourself, what have I just accomplished?
Nothing.
Literally nothing. And maybe I saw one or two funny things. That's fine, right? I obviously somehow entertained myself.
Yeah.
But what is the end goal there? And I don't have a problem doing that stuff, but you got to allot the time for that. Accomplish the things that matter first.
Yeah.
And then once those are done, then kick your feet up a little bit, right? And I think that's something that's definitely helped me with my careers.
I think this might be a bold statement, but I think as a culture, we're lazy.
Mm-hmm. That's not that bold.
I don't know why that seems to be even more and more these days, but it feels like we're just getting more and more, oh, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow kind of mentality. I think there's two categories here almost. Anyway, like I'll give you my example, but I feel like there's procrastinating on the, I don't want to do the dishes because I had a long ass day and I'm tired and I'll do it in the morning.
Right.
That kind of procrastination. But then there's also procrastination around the unknown and the fear of the unknown and the, I don't want to start this business because what if I fail?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to work on my social media presence because what if no one cares?
Right, or I get like negative comments.
Exactly. Or it takes longer than I think to build or whatever. So I think there's two very different types of procrastination. One is more mundane, one is more that fear of unknown. How do we get to a point where, and it might just be, the simple answer might just be, repetition and doing it and forcing yourself to actually do one post on social media. Go and register. We talked about, in prior episodes, go and register, get that business number, have that idea written down on paper.
Somewhere.
Just start somewhere. But I think that fear of the unknown comes into play a lot.
I mean, as human, like we are, I think, genetically built to fear things.
Yeah.
It's I put on that, I think a great example is, and we've talked about this for sure before, you and I put on that Oculus, and I know I'm in my living room, but then all of a sudden, this is like one of those elevator walkout games, and so you're walking out on like the 80th floor of
on a plane.
Wherever, Sears Tower or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, and you walk out, and it's like all of a sudden I know where I am, but I'm too afraid. Like I could see it in the Oculus that I'm looking straight forward, and it looks like it's the city down below, and I am so nervous I cannot walk out on that plank, and it's because I fear what I don't like. I've never done it before.
Yeah.
You know?
Are you afraid of heights like
No.
in real life?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, I'm not used to this.
This is weird.
It's just a mental. So what I'm trying to get over is that, what I'm trying to express is that it's like clearly just a mental block, you know, and I don't want it. And all I have to do is the minute I take that first step, Brendan, and realize that that's not an actual like cliff I'm trying to fall off of, then I feel like I could just continue it on. But it's that first step that gets me nervous enough to turn around and not do it.
Yeah.
Now, this is just a video game, all right? But if you're talking about life now, how many lives do most of us have? One. So you got to take a risk and try to attempt things that are tough to do.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you will become lazy, like you said. And if you want to compete in this world, there's going to be someone else that's going to outwork you. They're going to see your business, Brendan, and say, wow, that sales guy is really good. He's selling a great product, but you know what? I can outwork him and take his clients from him. You want that to happen to you? No. Rhetorical question.
Of course not.
So you have to outwork your competition.
Sure.
You have to outwork yourself. Because if you're at level 100 and you're achieving something, but you want to achieve more, then you have to get to 110. You have to go 10% better. Forget about what's 1%? Everybody is looking around at somebody else all the time. Wow, look at that person. Wow, they're successful. And then you dig down deep and you read their story. And it's like they're an immigrant coming from nothing.
Yeah.
You know, or they dropped out of school. You know, they had an idea, but they just pursued it. You know, they took it to that next level. There was that, Whitney Wolf that created Bumble, was working for Tinder or something. Yeah. Left that, or maybe even got fired. I don't recall the story.
It wasn't pleasant.
It wasn't pleasant, but then said, okay, basically, F you, I'm going to go open up a competitor. Did it, went public, and now is chilling like in the Maldives somewhere. Right. Yeah. Doing whatever. So she goes from employee, right, to some sort of a breakup, to having sort of the ability, because she had the knowledge to do it, probably knew enough people to get this done, and got it done. Yeah. And you know what was probably a big part of it? Was the motivation. She wanted to compete, wanted to get into that space. Yeah. And were there others going around? Sure, there's Match.com, all this stuff, but you see your competition and you go after it and you try to achieve. If you're just going to sit there and let other people steamroll you all the time and not give your own opinion and not be that sort of aggressive sort of stance with things that you believe in, then people will steamroll you. You have to stick up for what you're doing and put the effort in to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Don't be lazy.
This is a great point. And I think it can be applied to not only trading, but business in general, in that you find these days there's a lot of people that are looking over here, looking over there, looking on social media. And, we'll come back to your daughter maybe. The social media aspect, I think, is really negative, not only on kids, and you can talk about your daughter here, but also from a business standpoint. There's a lot of people who are trying to do their own thing. Mm-hmm. They're trying to start that side hustle. They're trying to start a business because they have nothing else right now. And let's be honest, that's not easy. It's hard. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of dedication and a lot of patience, I think, to get to a point where you're starting to see the results come in. Mm-hmm. During that time, it's easy to say, oh, what's that person doing? Mm-hmm. Oh, what's this person, on Instagram in front of the Lambo? What are they doing?
Right, renting a Lambo.
Can I do that? Exactly. But, there's a lot of influences that start to come in. When it gets hard, when you're in that situation, when you're trying to start that thing, mm-hmm. it's going to get to a point where it's hard. It's a challenging, day. It's a challenging week. It's a challenging couple of weeks. In that time when you're, sitting on your phone scrolling through TikTok or Instagram and you see these, oh, what are they doing? Yeah. Can I do that instead? Is that a better option instead of what I'm doing now? Those are the moments where I think if we can just silence all that noise mm-hmm. and come back to the focus and come back to this is what I'm doing. You talked about it earlier with that decision to actually get started and dedicate yourself to one thing. Yes, it's going to evolve over time and mold itself into what it will end up being. But if we can dedicate ourselves to one thing and push all that other crap to the side, it makes life so much less noisy, for lack of a better term.
It's so hard to do.
Do you find that your daughter ends up with, that type of challenge, saying like, oh, well, here's my friend doing this, here's, so-and-so, I want to do that now instead of going out and doing my shots?
So good question. So my daughter has sort of that dog in her, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. She wants to accomplish these things. And it's amazing to have this trait in her to want to do her own thing because she knows the end result is there. She's seen such improvements in her goal.
Right.
And to talk about it as a business, sure, you're going to go through 3 or 4 weeks where maybe you're deciding if you should stop or wow, I've gotten nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm working all this.
What am I doing?
What am I even doing? But that's where I think you have to have, and we talked about this earlier, a little bit of tunnel vision, because at the end of the day, there's going to be tons of noise that comes through. Yeah. And I don't necessarily think you need to avoid that because it's not going anywhere. It's better to deal with it, in my opinion. I'd rather have her friends messaging her, let's go out, and then her saying, no,
exactly,
I'm doing the shot, rather than me turn off her phone.
Yeah.
Because the minute you turn off the phone, then she starts to say, wonder what's going on. I'd rather her know that this is what's happening and you're choosing this. So once she does her 90 shots, you know how long it takes 90 shots? She could do a shot in 10 seconds. This is not a long thing.
Yeah.
It's just she has to do it in order to get something else. So if we're going to be businessmen and we're going to open our own business and start our own thing, we're going to have to do something in order to then earn maybe free time.
Right.
And if you look at it like that, even though we're grown-ass adults and we don't have to say, I want to earn something, we should be able to plan properly, time properly, and say, hey, I have to get through this stage. I know that the first 3 months I'm going to be strapped for cash as I build my business. So you may have to ignore some of those, oh, this Uber One deal today, get this food for blah, blah, blah. Forget about it. No, today you're eating rice and peas. You're not getting, no, but seriously, instead of getting that extra thing, that money needs to, and that focus needs to be back into the business until you succeed.
Yeah.
So for me, I often feel like it, and you know this even here, there's so many things that happen around you, even as a trader.
Yeah.
This analyst upgrades that or downgrades this.
Who cares?
Who cares? My idea is I want to buy Apple now because of the iPhone 16's coming out. If it comes out and the stock starts to go down, then I'll sell the stock. I mean, now it's not doing what I thought. But at the end of the day, if you're going to take the opinion of the many and bring it into your own, at least be able to pick and choose which one you feel is valid versus invalid.
Yeah.
I don't want to completely shut the person, myself, you, my daughter, anybody out there that's opening a business, see everything that's coming in.
Sure.
But at the same time, understand where you're going and how that affects you. There's so many people out there that compare themselves to somebody else. My son says to me, he goes, Dad, it's 12:30 on Saturday night. I'm like, yeah, it's bedtime. He's 12 years old. Oh, my friends are still online playing Fortnite, this and that. I go, I don't care about your friends. Oh, they stay up to 4 o'clock. Oh, don't worry, I'll sleep in. I'm like, no, we're going out for breakfast in the morning. We have these plans. You're going to bed.
Yeah.
So forget about what everybody else is doing. In order to perform at your peak performance, you need, my son, at least 7 hours of sleep. More than that, but that's what he would need. So then we have to stay disciplined enough to say, this is what I need in order to function at my best self.
Yeah.
I don't mind him telling me, oh, I want to stay up a little bit longer, blah, blah, blah. But then he has to also understand that, hey, there's limits to all of our, like your limit might have been 2 or 3K. Then it was 4K, 5 running wise. Mm-hmm. Your limit this past weekend might have been 1 brisket sandwich. Next weekend, maybe 1.5 sandwiches. Okay. And then eventually you'll work your way up to a healthy dose.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's understanding your own limits, because if you're comparing yourself to other people, wrong. Because most people, as we just said 5 minutes ago, are lazy.
Yeah.
Do not look at those posts online and be like, oh, I want to be that person. Sure, maybe use it as inspiration. Fine. But you want to be yourself, but just better.
But isn't that a result of being lazy?
What, looking at Instagram?
No, people are looking for the quick fix. People are looking for, oh, they're doing it. I'm just going to do whatever.
You seen Ozempic before?
Exactly.
Right.
I'm just going to do whatever they're doing, and I should be able to do that too.
Right.
You know, we see it. I mean, for anyone who wants to be a trader and is starting maybe to be a trader, we see it all the time. You know, and to a point where when new people come in to be traders now and learn,
right,
one of the first things they're told is try everything, understand everything, but then let yourself gravitate towards what makes the most sense to you.
Right.
But it's still hard to push away that noise every single day.
It's so hard. And I mean, and that's the problem, is that most people out there will be intimidated by others. And that's where you have to say to yourself, I'm doing me.
Yeah.
It has to be about, if you're not focused on the end result for yourself and your business, then yeah, you are going to procrastinate, because you're not going to do those hard things because someone's always looking over your shoulder telling you you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know, if you always fail at something, then you're not going to keep going back and forth.
I think there's a deeper aspect to that, though. I think it's people stop themselves before they fail to prevent the failure from actually occurring.
It's those negative thoughts.
But but then that's when you get the looking over, your neighbor's shoulder saying, what are you doing? I'm just going to do that instead because I don't want to let what I'm doing now fail.
Right.
Because that's too hard to actually accept for some people.
A lot of us want to not just only keep up with the Joneses, but be the Joneses.
Yeah.
Don't we want to pass the Joneses? And so it's like when I'm always looking and saying, oh, that's fun what that person's doing, and that's fun what that person's doing. But how do I know that I'm going to enjoy doing that? I feel so much more accomplished when you accomplish something that you set out to do for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we always say, oh, I want to have that Lambo trade. Ain't no one buying a damn Lamborghini.
I saw 3 driving around Toronto on the weekend.
Okay, so some people are buying Lamborghinis.
No, they're renting.
But the thing is, not only that, we don't know where their money came from. And that's the other thing. Especially being here in Toronto, pretty affluent, obviously. There's so much old money running around here. Yeah. And over this past weekend, I was talking with a bunch of guys that run money at RBC and all over the place. And he said you would be absolutely astonished he goes over to these people's houses and they ain't got no money. They're living in $3-4 million houses. They walk in there and the guy has $3 or $4 million of cash as well to invest, and they give it in to them to manage. All right. So they give them everything. Do you know who's paying these guys mortgages every month? The dad.
Right.
The dad is writing checks for $10,000, $12,000 a month. So us looking in and saying, oh, wow, Jack Smith living in that house, their parents, just because of accumulation of wealth, whether or not they've had properties that have sold, whether or not they've sold their $3 or $4 million house and moved into an old age home. The idea behind this all is when you're looking at other people, you don't understand their situation and what's in front of them. You have to know that you came from a certain spot and now you're here. Be proud of where you are and try to get further. But the minute I look at Jack over there and say, wow, you're driving this Porsche, you're living in that house, but yet he doesn't really have a dime to his name. That's, I don't want to compare myself. Sure, I might want to live that lifestyle. But I live in a modest, 3-bedroom, 2,200 square foot house, property, perfectly fine, absolutely fine. Do you sometimes get FOMO, I want to be that person? Sure. But then you don't know that person's situation. And then people don't know that I have some money saved up into my retirement account.
Sure.
I don't know if that person does. Is everything that they're
probably not. Is
everything that they're earning going into a education fund? Are they paying for their kids at school, or is grandpa doing that? Who's paying for that private school that the kids are going to that we're jealous about? So sometimes, just to what you're talking about the outside noise, it's very easy to get caught up in trying to be something that you're not even really close to, because you're even better than that.
Yeah.
we're motivated enough to not take that $10,000. I'm motivated enough to say, sure, help it. Help is fine. But I want to be independently wealthy. I want to be able to make my own money, be able to say to my kids, this is what we've accomplished, and to get to that level, I think you need to throw out procrastination. You need to be disciplined, and you need to be hungry. You need to have that drive, because if you're just going to sit back and relax, like Brendan, if you won the lottery, right? Would you stop doing everything?
I think there's a point at which...
Would you stop running?
Obviously, never. Obviously, life would change. But that's different.
But why do you say? But why is it different? Because your goal, you like to do that.
It's different because
your body is like your business.
Related.
Well, but okay.
It's health related
You're passionate about that.
Very. But it's different in that I can't go and buy a certain level of health.
Okay.
No, Sean, at the end of the day, you have to do the work, and the work sucks. There's no magic pill. I'm sorry.
Wow, there's a magic injection.
Have you seen some of the side effects? We'll talk about that for another episode. But without magic pen,
right,
you have to do the work, and it sucks.
But that's true of businesses too.
100%.
Right.
And the result that you get, even in the business situation, motivates you to continue and do more and build and build and build.
Just to ask you that, and you just immediately said never. But when I asked you about what would we stop if you won the lottery, it's like that's where I'm saying that it's like no matter. And you look at the most successful people out there, they didn't stop at their first million. That got them actually hungrier.
Yeah.
And I think
there's an aspect to that though that you get to a certain point where you start to understand that. You were saying like, oh, that person has a really nice house. That person has a car. Or they have the whatever.
You're right. Trophy wife.
How can I get, that house or this car? I want that car. Then you go and you get the car, and then a month later you're
empty again.
You're like, eh.
Right. Exactly.
You get to a point where you start to understand that these things don't fulfill, and these things don't. It's not
a bucket filler
of getting up in the morning to go out to your whatever dream car, go jump in your pool in the backyard. It's use it as motivation, but understand there's a bigger.
Well, we just talked about that. I said you feel so much better when you accomplish something that you've set out to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, whatever. This person just lost, on a trade. Okay, that's fine. The next trade is another trade.
Yeah.
If at the end of the day you're looking to put together a number, and you accomplish that number, that's a great feeling. Who cares what someone else's number is? It's about accomplishing that. When you're a sales guy and you close you say, I want to close 10 sales contracts this week. I want to bring in 10 new seats, okay? If you accomplish that, that's huge. Who cares if somebody else did 50? You'll just say, okay, next week then I'm going to try to get 12. And you got to feel good about hitting your own goals. And that's why when you can sort of put those blinders on, I mean, we just had the Preakness and all that. The horses have their blinders. So they just stay the lane.
Yeah.
And they don't look at what, whatever the horse beside them is, Lucky Rabbit, is doing right now. They're focusing on their own thing.
Yeah.
And the minute you start looking around, and I do this all the time too. Oh, this trader just made this much money. That's it. I know I'm better than them.
I'm going over to that stock.
Yeah. Or not just that. Yeah. I'm competing.
Sure.
And I'm naturally a competitor. So I want to always try to be one of the top ones there. But that is a hindrance to accomplishing the longer term goal. It might be, today was a successful day. But did I do something that helps me grow? Not only as a person, but either as an investor, or did my business accomplish something today? Did I get something effectively done efficiently?
I think there's a lot of people who are in the situation that they want to do something, but they just don't know what it is they want to do. They want to do something. They want to change their life. They're not happy with where they are. They're not happy with the path and trajectory that they're on, but they don't know what that one thing is. Warren Buffett famously said, invest in yourself. If you don't understand at this point what to invest in, go and invest in yourself. He even went as far as saying, invest in communication skills.
Right.
Because that will increase your like your value exponentially to 50% greater than somebody who has less, and be able to effectively communicate not only in a professional environment but also on a personal level as well. So I think if we can leave people with one thing, I mean, maybe more than one thing, but if you're going to go and start today, understand what it is that you do well today.
You're right.
And how you can, even if it's a small increment, we use that airplane analogy in a prior episode, where if you just course correct ever so slightly, 1%, 2% over time, that ends up being a significant change in where the direction that you're heading. If you even go today and enroll in that communications course, enroll in that sales course, enroll in the the writing course, coding, sure, yeah, that's another great example. I think being able to improve yourself first will put you on that right trajectory.
So we probably read the same article there, and I think the thing about Warren Buffett too, what I got from that is nobody can take it away from you.
Exactly.
Once you start building into yourself,
yeah, it's so important.
Then it just opens up so many more doors, because then all of a sudden you just, and just for you said communication skills, if you're trying to get in front of somebody to sell your idea, remember, no matter what job you're in, you're really selling something.
Always.
You're always trying to get more people on board with you, whether or not it's to help you, whether or not it's to buy something from you, make your life easier.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you would think about one of the world's greatest investors, known investor.
Maybe even the.
Yeah. I mean, timing was a big factor there. And did you know that, so his very first investment actually was in 1942. It was $114, and he bought, I think it was 3 shares of something. He had said that, and apparently this is the study, if he had just kept that and put that into the market, the S&P 500, and that was in 1942, and he just reinvested all the dividends that was coming from the S&P 500, it would be over $400,000 today. That's $117 or $114 in 1942, staying the course. So one of the world's greatest investors is talking about communication skills, and it's because he attached himself also with like-minded people and got people that were on the same page as him, found people to help him organize, invest, and get behind some of these ideas, to the point where he has Berkshire, which is the huge fund, right? So he built into himself. He had these great investing ideas, but being able to speak and get other people on board with him and work the same kind of ideas that he had allowed it to grow and grow and grow. And then the next thing you know, this fund and this management just became so huge. And it was all because of investing in himself. He believed in this idea, and he was able to convey it to others. Go in front of the board of Coca-Cola and make these discussions with them. Why he feels they're undervalued, taking over shares in the company. Same thing, I mean, with Apple, it wasn't an activist, just investing in the company.
Yeah.
So one of the greatest investors of all times is telling us to invest in ourselves first.
But think about all the different applications there, and I don't want to stay too long on this, but think about all the different applications there, even from a leadership standpoint. How can you ever even want to lead a team of people if you can't effectively communicate that message, communicate the end goal, and understand, first of all, what the end goal is, but then motivate and communicate everyone who's following you to jump on that train and continue on that path.
I mean, that's exactly right. That's what I was sort of getting at, is that he was able to find enough people that would believe in his leadership and to get on board with him. I mean, you see the investor days, the guy walks around even now, 90-something years old. Yeah, he's a rock star, shaking hands, riding golf carts around. They have their investor day every Saturday. Yeah. This is not like, oh, let's just do a little conference on a random Wednesday. They have Dairy Queen there. They're handing out fudge bars. They're handing out cans of Coke. Like everyone, everything's, here's an iPhone, probably not, but he's got all the companies there. I don't know either. But at the end of the day, it's people enjoying who he is.
Yeah.
And then part of that brings you success, because more and more people will believe in you because you believe in yourself, and you've spent the time to work on yourself and investing in yourself. understanding how to get that message across. Some of us, and I'm guilty of this all the time, maybe too aggressive at some points when need not be. That does not get me anywhere. Love you, my wife, or my kids. Sometimes you have to figure out what's the right way to communicate in order to get that end result. All of us watching and listening to this have those stories, right? There's a certain way you can talk to your wife to get something, potentially, maybe not. I don't know. There's a certain way to word things.
Depends on what day it is.
Right. But that's another thing. You got to figure out what day it is.
Sure.
So as we get a little derailed, the idea here is if you believe in yourself, more people will believe in you. And I think that's where it starts. Confidence as well. And that goes to invest in yourself.
And let's bring it back to the housing idea to wrap it up.
Yeah, what's this?
Because Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he grew up in. This is a guy with, more wealth
in Omaha,
generational wealth than he'll ever be able to.
Right.
His family's family is taken care of for life.
But doesn't mean anything to him, right?
Exactly. But the guy has never felt that need to go and get the
just ball out in front of
enormous
everybody.
mansion. He's put his money to work and understands the principle behind that and hasn't gone down that path of I need that because the Joneses have that.
I mean, who would have thought at this age he's still there?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what kind of decisions he's making, but he's still there. Like you said, many people would have flew. We talk about winning a lottery. I mean, this guy.
Where would you go? First place.
So, I mean, this is going to be probably close to you, but I've always wanted to go into Greece, check out Croatia. Like when I was in Italy, it was fantastic. Like those beaches over there.
Yeah.
I heard one of this past weekend was apparently Albania. The beaches there, not very expensive. Because Italy was playing Albania in the Euro Cup, and we were watching it. I'm like, oh, yeah, Albania is no problem. And then we only won 2-1. By the way, so my father's Italian, born in Italy. There's so many people. We won the last Euro Cup, okay? We did not make the World Cup, but I'm tired of defending the Azzurri because thing is that everyone's like, oh, Italy hasn't been anything. We won the last World Cup. So I just had to get that off my chest because so many people are like, Italy is irrelevant right now with football and soccer. And I only really watch it once it's Euro Cup and World Cup. So I am like a fly-by-night fan.
Yeah.
But, when you're passionate about
a few more weeks to go
things.
On the World Cup. Let's wrap this
Where would you go?
That's a great question. South of France.
Right. I think same kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
Good food, beaches, warm weather.
The best place on earth.
I never wanted to do a cruise. You ever want to do a cruise?
Never.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking about it. I thought it would be kind of cool with the kids. I heard
on a cruise, you line up, and then you line up after you line up.
I wonder if that's a thing because apparently you can still make reservations.
I don't know.
Anyways, good
Episode 4.
Wrap it.
Hit the like, hit the subscribe.
Get out of here, Fabian.
We'll see you soon.
Ciao.